Back with another episode of the Academy Urban Sports Perspectives. Before we get into it, is this being recorded both on YouTube and on Zoom?
No room on Zoom.
Okay. Um, anyways, well, we're back for another episode. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. Yesterday was a very interesting, unpredictable, well, not unpredictable, but very surprising for me. But before we get into all of that, can we first just, let's check in. How is everybody doing this week? Well, this Monday, beginning of the week.
Hey, much better. Weather in Chicago is a lot better than it's been in the last couple of weeks. So no big complaints.
It's all good here. The snow melted. The sun was out a little bit. It was over freezing. So yeah, we can't complain.
Same. 70s today, 70s for the rest of the week. Sunny. It's all good.
Must be nice.
But
You
it's
know what?
nice
It
too.
is.
So, but okay, let's go ahead. Let's get into all things football. Starting with we are going to have a Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl. I was really not hoping for that. I was hoping, it to go another way. Last time we talked, we had Grapefruit, you had a 49ers Bills Super Bowl Ultimate, same thing, 49ers Bills. D-Money, you just said Detroit was gonna win it all. So, we're
Yeah, Detroit and Dallas. So he kind of out the mix.
Yeah, basically whoever I pick is not going to win. So just go opposite of whatever I pick for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, we'll have much more to talk about the Super Bowl. I know that I'm really excited for this, the halftime show. But before we get into, moving down that road, let's back up to yesterday. What did you all think of the games? Like I said, I wasn't really expecting the outcome for either games. I wore my conspiracy hat again, so I'll get into that later. But what did y'all think?
You know what? I thought it was the story of players that can rise to the occasion and players that shrunk due to the weight of the occasion. Players that can slow their heartbeats down and players that just got so hyped up and anxious they couldn't perform like they were supposed to. And the story of the quarterbacks. And swinging this back around to the Bears. If the Bears don't think they need a top-tier quarterback to succeed in this league, they're wrong. Not necessarily saying Jason Fields isn't that guy, but you definitely need one to win in this league. I don't know if Brock Purdy is definitely that top tier, but he's definitely good enough to get it done. So to me, it kind of played out the way it should have. I think anybody, including myself, would have been a fool to kind of bet against the Chiefs in that situation. Obviously, the 49ers were favorites going in. But like at the end of the day, the quarterbacks kind of rise. The quarterbacks win the games, lose the games. And we kind of saw what happened with Lamar Jackson. Again, I think we talked about this weeks ago, how he's a big regular season MVP. As soon as this playoffs start, for whatever reason, he can't perform up to the standards that are necessary. So for me, it was kind of, like I said, the story of players that rise to the occasion, Patrick Mahomes, for instance, and players that just can't handle the weight. Once again, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with both you and Spicy. I was very disappointed with the outcomes. Obviously, picking Detroit to win the Super Bowl. I was rooting for them, and I was rooting for the Ravens. I thought the Ravens were the favorites on paper, based on what they've done all year. They should have won that game. It was at home. Their defense and offense were playing at a high level, but it just goes back to what you said, Ultimate. The playoffs is a different story, right? It's about who can execute and who can play under the pressure, and that includes the coaches too. The Ravens, they shut KC out for the second half, held them to 17 points. I think if we go into that game and you tell me Kansas City's only scoring 17, I'll say I'll take that. we should be able to, we the highest scoring offense in the NFL, I think. We should be able to beat 17 points. But turnovers, costly turnovers, right? One, both were touchbacks, one on a touchdown play with the wide receiver. And then the other one, Lamar, as you said, threw into triple coverage and threw a pick. So I just think he didn't rise to the occasion, and just some costly turnovers. And then we just saw Detroit just choke. I thought going into the game that San Francisco would win it, but then we see that Detroit jumped out to like a 14 or 17 to nothing lead, something like that. And you figure, well, wait a minute, maybe they got a shot at this. And again, just poor decision-making on the coach, poor execution on the players, guys dropping balls and critical situations. We just see that in the playoffs, it's really about who can handle the pressure. But what we've seen now with these two playoff teams, we see two different type of quarterbacks. In Mahomes, we see a generational quarterback. He's been there. He's going to be a perennial Super Bowl player, I think. But on the other side, we see Brock Purdy. We see a manager, somebody who's just really solid at what they do, who just has good weapons around him and a very good system. So we see that both can work, but Brock Purdy can handle the pressure. I don't think I've seen him run all year. Maybe he has, but he added that to his game because he just saw it was necessary to get the job done. And actually, he looked pretty good running the ball. So I just think these two quarterbacks, if you really look at it, were probably the most solid quarterbacks all season. And Mahomes wasn't even really that great, but you just know he's going to be there in the playoffs. So disappointed with the outcome, but at the same time, probably the best two teams in the playoffs are in the Super Bowl. But and then I'll give my picks a little bit later, who I think is going to win. But again, whoever I pick, make sure you choose the opposite because that's probably going to be the real winner. But yeah, but that's my take on the playoffs of what we saw yesterday, at least.
Okay, so I agree to a point with what the UM said in regards to Lamar Jackson to a point. I think Lamar Jackson did take a step this year by winning the divisional playoff game. Yeah, he didn't do as well, obviously, in the championship game. And I do think his play calling kind of failed him a little bit because there was no reason for them to not continue to run the ball. They could have ran the ball and they could have won that game. Now, if you are saying to me that Kansas City wins the turnover battle by 3, and yet they only score 17 points, that's not supposed, you're still supposed to win that game. Because the defense, clamped down in the second half. But here's what Kansas City did do, though. With them scoring touchdowns on those first 2 drives, it put it in the mind of the Ravens that, we're going to have to hurry up. When they actually didn't have to hurry up. They could have just went with their normal game plan. And instead, I think the OC is somehow related to Getsy because he lost his way. And you could see, first of all, craziest play of yesterday was Lamar Jackson throwing a 13-yard pass to Lamar Jackson. It was one of the craziest things that I've ever seen, that he was smart enough to go look up, track the ball, and then run for a first down. That's just crazy to me. As far as Pat Mahomes is just that guy. I mean, and the funny thing is, with Lamar Jackson right now, with him being 2-4 in the playoffs, he's actually, believe it or not, starting his career like Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, in his first few years as a pro in the playoffs, did not win. It took a long time for him to get over that hump. And I see the same thing for Lamar. But Lamar has made leaps and bounds as a passer in the pocket. And I think they stayed in the pocket too much because he has a generational talent in regards to his feet. And I think they didn't the game plan just got shut up and they just did not. That everyone choked. So it wasn't just the quarterback, it was the offensive coordinator. The defense made just tons of stupid penalties. They had 5 15-yard penalties yesterday, which really hurt them. So that being said, okay, so Mahomes is that guy. As far as on the NFC side, teams that had led by 17 points in a championship game were 21-0 until yesterday. That was the first time that a team had blown a 17-point lead. Did it the only way I guess the Lions probably could do it when you really think about it. And, you know, Dan Campbell, bless his heart, he knows he's going to get fired one day, but he kept doing what he did throughout the regular season. And, you know, some people say that if you all of a sudden change, then you are copping out. You're punking out. So he just did what he continued to do. Now, look, some passes were dropped. One of those 4th down conversions should have been a conversion if you just catch the ball. One of the versions, you know, I listen. The guy here's the thing, and here's your stats for the day. The field goal kicker actually, from the distances where they would have been kicking, was only 50% at best. That's what he's made through the years. It's about 56%. So it actually, neither field goal was a given. So put that in the back of your mind. But would I have taken the points? Yeah, I think I would have at least attempted one of those field goals, if not both. Detroit, I'll explain it in regards to my rising star for today. But there are some things that happened after that game that were very important and very real, which is why I like Dan Campbell. But you know, he knows this one's on him too. This is on him too. But you know, players got to perform, and you know they didn't. You know, they couldn't stop the momentum. They didn't. The defense did not stop San Francisco that entire second half. The only time they stopped them was when they knelt down to win to end the game. That's the only time they didn't score, when they had the ball in the second half. So yeah, it's you know, again, Pat Mahomes is that guy. He just is. And more stats for you. Pat Mahomes in the playoffs, in the 17 games that he's played, this is his playoffs: 4,900 yards passing, 39 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So actually, Pat Mahomes in the playoffs is better than Pat Mahomes in the regular season, which is crazy.
Now that's generational stats, right? That's what generational athletes do.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, they're actually better than they are in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can just real quick, there is only one generational quarterback in the NFL, and you just talked about him. So I really think we have to stop throwing this generational quarterback around to just everybody who looks like they're a good quarterback. He is the only one.
Right, but see, the point is that he is the only one playing right now, which would be foolish not to continue to try to find that generational guy. Because once you get him, you're good for 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
So you don't settle saying, oh, I'm settling for this guy because I ain't got nothing better. If you think you may have your finger on a generational quarterback, he may not pan out, maybe he will, but if you think, you got to take a shot, because that sets you up for 10 to 15 years. And just to go back to the point about the San Francisco and Detroit game, it was much more of a situation where Detroit gave that game away than San Francisco took. Fruit mentioned how San Francisco scored, you know, every possession or something like that in the second half. But part of that was because of the momentum shift, which was caused by the offense failing on the third down, fourth down conversions, failing, dropping passes. That momentum and energy just went to the other side of the ball, and that's one reason the defense couldn't hold them off. And that excuse that you heard all day about how Dan Kid, that's just what he does. He's always goes for the fourth down play if it's in positive territory and it under 3 yards. But see, that's idiotic. That's the stupidest shit I ever heard in my life. A good coach adjusts to the situation. If you're a good coach, you're not going to just say, this is the way I do it. I'm going to continue to do it no matter what happens. That's dumb. You see what the situation is. You see what the momentum is. You see what the score of the game is. You take all that stuff into consideration before you make a decision. If you made it before you even get into that situation, that's dumb. That's a sign of a rigid coach, someone who's not flexible, and it doesn't make any damn sense to me. So everybody who was supporting him saying, that's his personality. That's what he does all year. That's no. That's not the sign of a Super Bowl winning coach if you can't adjust. And I think everybody will agree to that. And going back to the Lamar Jackson thing, Fruit made a good point, is that when KC jumped off to that lead, it kind of caught them off guard, and they had to couldn't go with their normal game plan. See, that's the thing. When you are great, you can switch up your game plan. You can play from behind. You don't have to be a front runner. You can play different styles. You play from behind. You can slow the game down. You can do this. You can do that. But I'm just not seeing that out of. I know it's like I'm kind of shitting on Jackson a little bit, which I am, because I'm disappointed that you get to that point, have all these MVP seasons, and then when you get here, you kind of shrink under the moment. And he did. Fumbled the ball, got sacked too many times. He is a guy who's great on his feet, the best on his feet. Didn't run enough, which I kind of don't like quarterbacks that run too much. I think it can be stopped in certain situations, like now. But bottom line is, Detroit lost that game more than San Francisco took it, which is kind of influencing me a bit on the decision I'm going to make for the Super Bowl.
Well, okay. So let me combat the one thing in regards to you bleeping on Lamar. Yeah, I don't think I do think he didn't play a great game. That's kind of evident. However, I don't think it was just on him. I think what you also saw was that offensive coordinator just kind of spit the bit a little bit. I mean, listen, I know you don't like for him to run that much or like running quarterbacks all that much, but that was there for him. And one of the things that Casey doesn't do well is stop the run. And so if the team that you're playing doesn't stop the run well, why are you always passing? You mix it up. You placate to the strengths of your players. And I think, which is that's the thing. When you said people tighten up during the playoffs, that's what they did all year. That's how the play calling was all year. And yet, in the game that you needed to be yourself, you were not yourself, which is kind of, I guess, the definition of choke. When you get into a situation where it is a lot of pressure filled, and yet you change from being the way you normally would be if the pressure wasn't there, right? Exactly. So yeah, that all of that. I mean, and the defense. I mean, hey, it started in pregame when the kicker, when Justin Tucker was kicking from where Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce and the Chiefs were, and he threw his tee off and threw his helmet off and stuff like that. That game was just tense. That I knew from that point, it's like, oh, this is gonna be a thing here, because you don't really, yeah, Travis Kelce, you see that from him, but you don't really see Pat Mahomes was, it's like, but hey, here's the other thing. There's a whole bunch of disrespect, I think, to Pat Mahomes, and I think he took that to heart. That, you know what? All right, this is what y'all want. All right, I'm gonna give you what you want. And so now Pat Mahomes can now say, yeah, I can also win on the road too. He's now 2-0 on the road in the playoffs. It's incredible that man now has more playoff wins in 6 years than Aaron Rodgers has in 16. Think about that.
Overrated. Aaron Rodgers.
Overrated. Well, I think the thing though, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens will have another shot at getting back to the Super Bowl, but this was Detroit's only shot. I'm sorry. For a lot of different reasons, right? Because it's Detroit, but I think the NFC North is going to be better. They're going to have a harder time winning that division next year. Green Bay might even come in as the favorites. They're going to lose their offensive coordinator. It looks like he's probably going to get a head coaching job.
Washington.
And so you look at Philadelphia and what happened to their offense after losing their offensive coordinator this past season. So that's a big factor for the Detroit Lions. So this was their shot. This is as close as I think that they're probably going to get for a very long time. And it's unfortunate that they choked it away. So, but Lamar Jackson, he's going to be fine. He's going to have to deal with Pat Mahomes for a long time. So that's still going to be a hurdle he has to overcome, similar to Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Tom Brady was hard to overcome for Peyton, and the same thing is going to be for every quarterback in the AFC when it comes to Pat Mahomes. I think only one quarterback has taken him down, right? That's
two. Tom Brady twice, and Joe Burrow.
And Joe Burrow. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be good. But Lamar will get another chance. So will the Ravens. They're still a good team. We'll see him in the mix again.
We'll see. I mean, you got Justin Herbert coming up with Harbaugh. You got C.J. Stroud. You got a bunch of good guys coming up on the AFC. So I wouldn't pencil Lamar in. I would pencil Mahomes in, obviously. But there's some other teams that are going to be on the come up the next couple of years who are a lot younger and got probably some more talent on offense. But we'll see. I like Lamar. I just don't like the way he be folding under the pressure. It's getting a little annoying every time.
Again, just like Peyton Manning, just the same. It's the same thing. Actually, Lamar is actually a little better than Peyton Manning because it took Peyton Manning a long time to get that first playoff win. It took him a long time to get that.
Yes, I will say something positive about Lamar before we finish this segment. He is getting to be a better passer from the pocket. However, and I'm gonna give Justin Fields a little side. I think he's a better passer than Lamar. His arm seems to be a lot stronger, and I think he's more accurate actually than Lamar. Not necessarily saying he's a better passer from the pocket, but definitely got a strong arm, and I think the accuracy is there. But I think we'll see.
So like you said, you were gonna start saying something positive, and then
you didn't. Yeah. It's kind of like when he said last week he wasn't gonna say bleep, and then he said bleep. But that's neither here nor there. Listen,
good catch on that, Spicy.
Yeah, that is a good catch. I have come to, I guess, the conclusion that I'm ready for them to draft Caleb. I'm ready to see this go. I like Justin. When he was picked, I didn't like the pick because I thought he had some deficiencies, which we see that he does. However, if this cat is quote unquote possibly generational, then I don't think they have a choice but to go ahead and pick dude, and we just have to kind of roll with it and see what happens.
I don't think you can go wrong with picking Caleb. And the way I see it, worst case scenario, he's just as good as Justin. Best case scenario, he's generational. So you don't lose anything drafting him. And you can still probably, if you really wanted to get Marvin Harrison, you never know. You could maybe trade Justin and a couple other picks and pick up Marvin Harrison for that number 3 pick maybe. Because if you get Caleb and Drake May, then Justin's probably better than the other quarterbacks left in that draft. So who's got that 3rd pick? The Patriots?
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, I think it's the, let's see, I think the Patriots.
It's either Washington or the Patriots, but whoever it is,
Washington.
Yeah, you could probably package Justin in. You probably have to give up that number 9 pick, and you can probably still get Marvin Harrison if you really feel like having him with Caleb and DJ Moore is the right move. So if you take Caleb, you don't necessarily lose Marvin, but there are other good wide receivers that you can pick in this draft with that number 9 pick. But I think I'm with you all on that. It's time to move on from Justin. You just cannot pass up on somebody who is consistently being talked about as the next Patrick Mahomes. I do not think he's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I totally think that's unfair.
So, right, it is. But you don't have to be. He can, if he's just a good quarterback who can lead this team and get an offense that can score some points consistently. If he can be consistent, then I think this team can take the next step and be a playoff team next year. And you reset the clock too, right? You get a rookie quarterback, you're on a rookie contract. So you can still build the team. You'll have some more money to build the team and get what you need. So I'm with you all. I think it's and I think the Bears are there too. I think it's Caleb's job to lose. As long as the interviews, when they talk to him, his pro day, as long as everything goes well, I think he's going to be a Chicago Bear.
But I thought Eberflus was a good fire, and they didn't. So I mean, I
See.
would think they were going to draft Williams also. I'm not smart enough to know whether he's a generational quarterback because I haven't seen enough of his games, and even if I did, I probably couldn't tell. I'm not a quarterback whisperer like that. But most of the people are saying that he has the potential to be. But with that being said, not everyone, but a lot of people thought the Bears were going to move on from Eberflus. A lot of people thought the Bears would do a lot of other things that he didn't do. So I wouldn't be surprised if they.
But keep in mind, Ultimate, you said it. Eberflus was Poe's guy. So that was a more of a listen. I said this was the guy, and I'm gonna stick with him. Justin Field is not Poe's guy. So there's not that same attachment. I think he would relish the fact that he picked the guy, a Caleb Williams, who is a generational quarterback. I think he wants that on his resume. So I think even that makes him more so want to move away from Justin and get somebody that he can say was his pick.
Fair point, and I think they will. I'm just not convinced until it happens because they just move differently than most people expect them to at times. So we'll see.
Which goes back to me saying that they spit the bit. Eberflus should have been fired. They should have got offensive-minded head coach. They should have got the coach that's now going to be coaching in Los Angeles. That's what they should have done. And yet they bears it up just like they like to bears it up all the time. And this is why it looks like they may have lucked out and got a good offensive coordinator. Maybe. We'll see. But they had to get someone who wasn't a threat to get a head coaching job. So that means they automatically went to the second tier of offensive coordinators because the good ones are head coaches. So that's where that's where the Bears do Bears things. And it just, it would be nice. It would be really, 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 really nice if that organization could be in the forefront instead of doing a lot of what they've always been doing, except they try to put it in a better package.
That's what I was going to ask you. Well, you kind of touched on it, what you all thought about the hire for the defensive coordinator. But
I'm going to be honest with you. Hold on. And what I have to say is short. I don't care about these coordinators. I'll be honest with you. I mean, until we lace them up and we see these guys on the field and see what they can do, I really can care less. I mean, neither one of them does anything for me. I know the offensive coordinator was the quarterback whisperer for Geno Smith, but that still doesn't excite me. The offense didn't really do that well. I mean, it did better than it really wasn't great. I mean, Geno Smith played better, but it wasn't a great offense. They had their weaknesses too. The defensive coordinator, he was a defensive coordinator before. I guess he was associated with the Bears before. He's jumped around. So, but I never heard of the guy before they hired him. So it's really, why get excited about these coordinators? And, hopefully they can facilitate them getting some good players. It's all to me about the players. Coaches are nice. You don't want coaches who are going to ruin the talent, and you want coaches who can put them in the best position to win. But it's, to me, I can care less about the two guys they hired until we see what the product on the field next year.
Well, that's why it's important to put get good coaches to put them in the best possible places to win. And when you're already picking from the lower tier, you're kind of, setting yourself back because you weren't bold enough, which really, I don't think it was necessarily about being bold, smart enough to actually realize how this league is going. Now, yeah, defense will win championships, but best defense in the AFC is at home. Our best defense in the NFC is going, but I mean, obviously that's different. They got a lot of generational talent on that side of the ball. But yeah, I agree. Not excited about what they have gotten in regards to these coaches, but again, if we're back at the same thing, wondering why the coaches are calling these plays and not, developing this talent, we're going to be right back here where we are again. I mean, look, let's keep it a buck. I think Eberflus probably gets fired next year because I for whatever reason, you talk about Dan Campbell about being a Super Bowl head coach. I can't see Matt Eberflus being a playoff head coach.
Yeah, so as far as the coordinators, anybody who tells you they're excited about it is lying.
Yeah.
It's just an average. Like Drew said, we'll see how it goes. They seem to have some experience, been around the league, different positions, different coaching positions. So maybe they'll be okay, but it's definitely nothing to be excited about at this point. It's just one of those wait and see, and hope they don't screw it up.
It's gonna be see what they get for Justin. I mean, obviously they're gonna trade him. So the question is, what can they get? If they package, the only way they would get a number 1 pick is if they package the 9 pick, the number 9 pick. Otherwise, you'll probably get maybe a 2, maybe some 3s for that for him. And it's going to be very interesting in regards to how this all falls, because I think the top 3 wide receivers, from what they're saying, the top 3 quarterbacks and the top 3 wide receivers are going 1 through 6. So that means, by the time the Bears pick 9th, actually kind of does Brock Bowers from Georgia, if he's there at 9, do you take him at 9? I mean, running that you have another tight end that can go get it with Kmet. Brock Bowers is a beast who runs a 4.5 as a big old tight end who can block. So, I mean,
I don't think he's going to make it to 9, though. I think he's going to go before one of the receivers.
Yeah, I
don't before Marvin, but
No, he's not going before Marvin, but he'll probably go either 7th or 8th. Which,
when y'all talk against, there will be no defensive players picked in the top 10. Is that how the mock drafts are playing out?
They have the Bears getting the edge rusher at 9. That's who they have getting the edge rusher at 9.
Is that the first defensive guy off the board, they're saying?
I think so. If not, probably maybe the second. But the first 6 are going to be all offensive.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I like the wide receiver Odunze from Washington. I like him. I like him better than I like Marvin Harrison. But he's gonna be gone. And then you got the other guy from LSU. He's gonna be gone. So yeah, this should be the most exciting time to be a Bears fan. And if they didn't screw up this coaching thing in regards to firing that dude, I would be excited. But it's quelled because of that. Because the guy's stupid. And he shouldn't be the head coach. So I just don't, I can't get all that excited because I'm not sure anyone coming in here is walking into the best situation.
Right. And the other thing that tempers those expectations is that it seems like Green Bay isn't going anywhere. I think they found their quarterback. Mm-hmm. I kind of agree with Money to an extent that Detroit may not make it back. Goff is limited, better indoors, not that mobile. So I'm not saying he's going to be the guy that takes Detroit continuously to the playoffs. But Green Bay is something to worry about. And Detroit does have an overall good team. So I don't know. The Bears can improve and still finish third. I guess that's my point.
So I want to pose a question. I posed this yesterday when Ultimate and I were watching the games, but I'll pose it again. So if the most you get, if the best offer you get for Justin Fields is a second round pick, do you just keep him for another year? Would that be more beneficial to the team to have Justin and Caleb and just have them fight it out for the starting position? And maybe that brings the best out of both of them. And that way you get to see what kind of quarterback you really have in Caleb, just in case there's some personality issues that, people, that's kind of the only thing people say about him is how he handled losing a couple of times, that he might not be the leader that we think he is, and maybe he can't handle the pressure of being a quarterback in Chicago, which comes with a lot of criticism and a lot of pressure. Would he be better for the team to just keep Justin if they only get a second pick for him?
No.
All right. Same thing Ultimate said yesterday.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I would say no. I would say no. I'd see if it was like 6th, 7th round pick, but 2, I would definitely take a 2. And I don't think, even if it was a later pick, I just don't think it's a good idea to have that, create that environment.
I agree with that. And also, here's the thing. I think they'll actually get multiple picks for Justin. Now, they may get the highest they may get is a 2, but they may get a 3 or a couple of 3s or a 2, a 3, and a 4. I think they can get multiple picks for him because of the lack of talent at quarterback that's in this league.
Right.
So, yeah, I think, look, listen, dude, the Raiders need a quarterback. That, get the number 2 pick and you bring back Max Crosby. I consider that a win. I consider that would be a win. So they have plenty of trading partners. The question is, will they be able to go ahead and actually do this deal?
See,
It's it's going to be interesting talking later, after the Super Bowl, and once we get back into, once the season starts back up again, and seeing where things go. Because I feel like, and I've said this before, it's always the same thing every week. It's always the same thing every week when it comes to the Bears. And so hopefully there'll be something new
Different.
to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes. Instead of wondering, which is almost always the same question, is what are we going to do with Justin Fields? So
this has kind of been our lot for the last 38 years. It is what it is.
Yeah. But
it's a long time. You weren't even born. Jesus.
A youngin. Before we get into some other things, I want to circle back. Still in football. I just want to get our Super Bowl pick.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Even though I picked San Francisco as one of my 2 teams to make the Super Bowl, I would be an idiot and a fool if I didn't pick Kansas City to win the Super Bowl. I think they opened up, at least today, as like a 1 or 2 point underdog.
Mm-hmm.
But I know everyone, even though I still don't like the Taylor Swift angle to the whole situation, and it annoyed me a bit yesterday. They didn't do it, wasn't over the top, but I still think they had a little too many shots of her cheering and every time Kelsey touches the ball. But aside from that, if I can put that aside, I'll find myself rooting, betting, and picking the Chiefs to win. What is this? Super Bowl 50 what? Something? What?
8.
What Super Bowl 58. That's my pick, Kansas City Chiefs.
All right. Who's next?
Well, so because of the road they had to take to get to the Super Bowl, I think I'm gonna have to pick the Kansas City Chiefs too. They had the more difficult road. They played better teams, went up against better quarterbacks, and they were victorious on the road against those quarterbacks. San Francisco, really, if you think about it, probably the easiest road they've had to the Super Bowl in the last 3 years that I think, gone to the championship, right? Maybe. They had played all home games, and they played teams that were just so-so to me, Green Bay and Detroit. So I just think Kansas City is primed to win this. They had the tougher road, and their confidence is just going to be hard to beat in the Super Bowl.
So I picked the 49ers from the get, and I'm not going to punk out. It'll be easy for me to punk out and say, you know what? Yeah, it's hard to go against Pat Mahomes, but I'm going to be the idiot that's going to say, no, the San Francisco 49ers are the team that I picked from the very beginning. So just like Dan Campbell, who can't assess the situation, I'm going to go and go hard and say the 49ers are going to win it again.
I love that for you because, stick to your decision. I'm gonna go with Usher again, and I'm also gonna go with the Chiefs. Putting on my conspiracy hat real quick, they said Taylor Swift bought in from like revenue, all the marketing and whatever, $331.5 million. They're not gonna let the Chiefs lose. That's just my, so.
So I'm gonna be celebrating come 2 weeks from today is from what I'm seeing. That's how I see it. Thank you all for picking the Chiefs.
Listen, now, yeah, if they win, if the 49ers win, you will have.
Here's where I'm a little conflicted though. I love Pat Mahomes. I do. That's the dude. But like I said,
and you realize that Purdy may not rise to the occasion too. Because yesterday he had a poor first half. He pulled it together at the end. And like I said, Detroit, I still think gave away that game and gave them so much momentum. It energized the 49ers offense. But I'm not sold on Purdy as being the guy. In fact, like that spectacular catch Ayuk made to get the touchdown, which really turned things around, should have been an interception. And that really changed the whole, dynamic of the game. So
well, some people said that if that didn't happen, that Purdy would have lost his job.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's how pivotal that was. He would have lost his job. They would be searching for another quarterback. Hell, you could have traded Justin to San Francisco next year.
Well,
so, yeah, well, see, I mean, look,
we'll see.
The NFL it's the best thing that's going, conspiracies or not. I mean, yesterday, Championship Sunday is always the better Sunday than Super Bowl Sunday because you have 2 championship games.
That's right.
And they live it. The NFL has lived up to the hype, really. Unlike other sports right now, it's the sport right now. I mean, that's why we do this podcast, is because if it wasn't for the NFL, we would have nothing else to talk about.
So we wouldn't talk about the Bulls and,
No, we wouldn't.
Irrelevant.
Yeah.
Irrelevant.
So we don't want to talk about them because I'm cool. To be honest, I couldn't tell you.
It's why. Okay. Hey, they're gonna get to the play-in. Okay.
That makes them more irrelevant than when they were super bad and they may get a better lottery pick. Now that they're almost in a play-in, that makes it even more irrelevant. At least we could talk about how bad they were. Now they're just in that in between, like they bad but not bad enough. They decent but not good enough. They just like irrelevant.
It's basketball hell, and that's our Bulls talk for today.
It is. I've never not wanted to talk about a team so much as it is the Bulls. It's pretty bad. I've never felt this way about a team. Maybe the White Sox.
What to say? I think the White Sox. I feel that way, even though they did hire a brother to be their um, their on-air announcer, but
He's half a brother. Now let you know.
Favorite
so,
guy,
so is Pat Mahomes. Same.
Y'all are too funny. Well, since
Chick-fil-A.
we had
Got a
our
brother named
bull
not
segment.
Jackson or Johnson or Smith.
What? Oh man. All right. Well, that was great talk about the Bulls.
Yeah.
Let's get into our ultimate performance.
Ultimate performance. Before I get into the winner, I got a couple of honorable mentions. We just kind of briefly talked about basketball, so I want to give a couple of honorable mentions to Embiid and Luka, just for scoring 70 points both last week in some NBA games, which I think basically says that does the NBA still play defense, or what's that all about? I'm not sure why all these. I think Towns scored 60 last week.
He
Booker
said
scored
62. They both scored 62 and lost.
They lost games. So I don't know what that says about the state of the NBA in terms of their defense, but I'll give some kudos to those guys for putting the points up. My second honorable mention will go to both the winning quarterbacks from yesterday, Patrick Mahomes, Purdy. I'll give them a little shout out for that. But getting to the ultimate performance, there's nothing more irritating to me than when the NFL recycles all these old white man head coaches. It's always the same thing. Every year, somebody loses a job, then he picks up a job in another team. This happens every year, recycling the same old guys, no fresh ideas, no fresh faces. That's why I was so happy when Belichick didn't get hired. I was like, can't he just move on? Why don't he go sit and watch, drink some tea, some coffee, and watch TV like everybody else that's 72 years old? Why he think he got to be in the mix, calling shots and making some moves? Give somebody else a chance. I think the game has probably passed him by. So that's why I'm so glad that everybody else saw the same thing I saw and said, you know what? Let's look somewhere else, get some new ideas. So this week, the Ultimate Performance Award goes to all the GMs and owners who decided not to recycle these old white guys. Not only did they not do that, they hired 3 additional brothers to head coaching positions. So as we stand today, 2024, we now have 6 Black head coaches in the NFL. So the ultimate performance goes to all those GMs and owners who said, F. Belichick, Pete Carroll, all these old guys, let's bring in some brothers and some new faces to move this league forward.
I like that one. I'm gonna have to say that was one of your best, my friend. I like that.
I do like that one.
Yeah,
I
same.
know where you were going, but I like where you ended up. So, all righty. Let's
Now
go.
here comes the crap.
Garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I will say, I always like weeks when there's something that really is clearly stands out as hot garbage, where you just have to pick it. And normally I always have like 2 or 3 things to choose from. There was nothing really that stood out to me that I was so passionate about that I would just say it touched me where I had to call it hot garbage. It was already hot garbage probably before, and I've already talked about it, but nothing new. But the only thing I have to say is, because it was my Super Bowl pick, I have to say that this week's hot garbage for me are the Detroit Lions for taking a huge 17-point lead at half and just choking it away. And it's like Ultimate said, it was a choke. They gave the game away more so than San Francisco won that game, in my opinion. So, and again, I feel like it was that one shot for them to get there. So, yeah, it was so bad that I've just got to say, yes, for this week's hot garbage, it is the Detroit Lions.
How unfortunate. Who was what was the lead? What Super Bowl was that? Atlanta?
28-3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was bad.
Bad too. All right. Anyways, what about our rising star?
Okay, so I am actually going to piggyback, sort of. I'm going to actually go to the Detroit Lions. And when I say this is a rising star, this gentleman is probably our age, actually. The rising star for me this week goes by the name of Brad Holmes. Who's Brad Holmes? Brad Holmes is the general manager of the Detroit Lions. Brad Holmes selected Jamar Gibbs, Sam Laporta, and Brian Branch all in this past year's draft, who all start and played very key contributing roles to the North champions, who went from 9 wins last year to 12 this year. Also, he drafted Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown in his first year. So he's only been in the job for 3 years. And he's already made that big of a difference from them to come from 3 wins to 12. So your rising star is Brad Holmes, who, by the way, was named NFL Executive of the Year for 2023. That's your rising star. That brother, him, black guy, general manager, executive of the year, and I can't wait to see when he fires the coach.
Yeah, Laporta's a beast too. Yeah.
Yeah, and right. I mean, so he's put the and in the middle year he drafted Aiden Hutchinson. So this guy has been hitting on all cylinders in regards to draft. So, like I said, this is that's your rising star. That's the mark of a good GM, and Mr. Poles could hope to be like this guy, hitting the home runs that this guy's hit.
Well, I'm just going to say this about the NFL, that we're seeing some really good things as far as Black leadership. We're seeing more Black general managers. Ultimate brought out a lot more Black coaches. And pretty much the first picks are going to be Black quarterbacks these days because of the skill sets that you get with them. So kudos to the NFL for moving in the right direction. Now we just need ownership. So yep, that's kind of the final frontier on that front, when we can start to see that. And there's some guys out there with the dollars to do it, some groups that can do it. So, but I at least have to say kudos, because we're starting to see the leadership reflect the players. So kudos. I just want to say that.
Well, I guess it's me, and it's time for doing too much. I have 2 quick things. My first thing, this is for the people who keep trying to compare Taylor Swift to Beyonce, and I absolutely hate it. They're like, oh, Taylor Swift, Beyonce could never bring this much attention to the NFL. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, say that. That's fine. But let's also remember that Taylor Swift is a white woman. Let's also remember that Taylor Swift is anyway, she's a white woman celebrity. But when you compare the talent, there's no comparison. They like to bring up, oh, well, she made more money during her tour. Well, she performed 50% more shows, and her tour is still ongoing. So if Beyonce would have added more shows, she would have been on track to either be right on track or make more money than her. So I just really hate it. And first and then second of all, why do we even have to compare the two? Beyonce is not to be compared to Taylor Swift. That is my first one. And my second one is, and I'm sure that you all would not know anything about what I'm about to talk about. All I want to say is this: Nicki Minaj, something's wrong with her. She's not right. And it's a shame.
Are you talking about the feud she's having with Megan Thee Stallion?
Yes.
So I do know a little something about it. See?
A little something. Okay. Well, Megan Thee Stallion, she said in her song, she said, they're not mad at me, they're mad at Megan's Law, which is a shot at Nicki Minaj's husband, who is a convicted rapist. So we'll let that be. And Nicki Minaj has just been coming up with these little whack little, well, calling her Bigfoot and she's 6 foot tall. Like, it's not really a comeback, And then to make it even worse, what really made it worse was that, Megan Thee Stallion lost both her parents, and Nicki Minaj said to go conjure up your mother. So for that, I'll give her that, doing too much, but also it's really time for her to go and settle down.
With the rapist.
Yeah.
I said
Yeah,
therapist. I said
well,
therapist. Therapist?
Okay, well, whatever.
The rapist, right?
Therapist.
So those are my two things. It's just been a lot of stuff.
So she said to her, her mother's dead, to go conjure up your mother.
Mhm.
Wow.
Now, that's it's bad. That's
Back
bad.
in the day, Fruit used to throw bombs on people. Ultimate, you remember that, how you can get into an argument with Fruit and you're talking about things that are superficial, and then Fruit would say, that's why your woman is sleeping with this guy next to me. It's just stuff that everybody knew, but that you don't say in public. That's almost one of those.
AKA the Mad Bomber. That was one of my nicknames.
You didn't want to go against Fruit in an argument because
Right, you stay away from that. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? And you know who I got that from?
who?
And Spicy won't believe this. I got that from my sister because that's what my sister used to do to me.
See, I'm not gonna
Sonia?
let you slander her on
Oh,
this
yes.
on this show.
Listen,
She
listen.
is a saint. Okay? And I'm gonna make sure that she sees it.
Dude, listen. Sonya was cruel. Like double cruel. No.
I'm gonna make sure she
Go
sees
conjure up your mother cruel? Was she that cruel?
Yes.
it. I don't believe
Yes,
it. Ooh.
yes, she was. I'll still never forget the time when she locked me in my mother's bedroom and turned out all the lights. I'll never forget that.
Oh.
I was like 7 years old and I was terrified. It was dark in that room. And I couldn't get out because she could lock it from the outside. So please.
I want to ask her if she remembers that. Okay.
Of course. No, she has selective amnesia.
Funny stuff.
Anyway.
Well, I think that's it. Super Bowl. I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. But yeah. Anything else y'all just wanted to get off your chest?
Spicy, I want you to have Hella Bougie stay out of my video room.
She needs to be in there so we can do some stuff, but that's another conversation for another time.
What?
Also, since we're just getting some stuff off, remember I talked about Keith Lee a couple weeks ago? He's in Dallas.
Really?
And he went to Terry Black's, and people were mad because they wanted him to go to, a mom and pop place, and Terry Black's is based out of Austin and all this other stuff. Anyways, he said the sides were nasty, but the meat was good. He said their macaroni, it just tasted like a salty, wet noodle.
You know what? I cannot disagree with that. I do think Terry Black's sides are very overrated.
Mm-hmm.
But that beef rib, oh my God, that's religious. That's just that, like the sea of barbecue sauce just parts. It's just a thing. That's the meat is on point. But I'm with that. I'm with that because I think Black's has the better sides. But anyway, that's neither here.
Hey, I got a quick question, sports related. Adrian Griffin being fired by the Bucks. What was the reason behind that? Because I haven't kept up with the news.
From what I heard, it was that the players didn't know what the hell he was doing. That he just wasn't a good coach. And they were even running different sets than what he was calling because his defense just wasn't working. Because teams were scoring now scoring is up in the NBA, obviously, with get people scoring 70 and 60 points on a consistent basis, but they were giving up 130, 140 points on the regular, which is not normal for a Milwaukee Bucks team. And so it's just they were running different stuff than what he was calling because they were just ignoring him because they didn't think that he knew what he was doing. So, and the thing is, the question is, so was what the coach is now? What's the coach name? Doc. Did Doc Rivers do him dirty because Doc was the quote unquote
Consultant.
Yeah, he was the consultant.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Can't
you
trust
know,
nobody.
yeah,
the consultant, you tell the truth. If it's true what you say, and his job was to say, "Hey, this guy doesn't know what he's doing." So
Yeah, but he said that and said he don't know what he's doing. And you know who would be a good replacement?
Why, Doc?
So yeah, he did him dirty.
You gotta look out for yourself. Hey.
Yeah.
And now he got $40 million.
Doc?
Yes.
Mm.
40 million. That's the total contract.
One championship. Didn't he just win one championship like
And one
20 years ago?
in 2008 with my Boston Celtics.
40 million for how long?
I think it's 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
What did they give Adrian?
I think it was only 4 million a year. So, but I mean, he gets to keep that money though. I mean, he didn't work the full year. He only worked
So that's
half.
3. They're paying 3 coaches then, right? Because they extended the coach that they fired last year. So they're right now they're paying 3 coaches. Wow. Okay. Who's the GM of that team? I think he needs to be fired.
All right, yeah, probably.
He knows not what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Well, not really. Not for Doc Rivers.
Yeah, no, not for Doc. What ABC praised him for his weeks of working at ABC. So yeah, well, but yeah, Doc kind of did him dirty.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a mess too, isn't it? Now they got to replace him.
Yeah, it looks like it may be JJ Redick.
Really? Okay, that's a good choice. He does a good job.
That's who they're thinking of. Oh, and I guess also Tom Brady will be the #1 color analyst next year. Old boy's last game was yesterday for Fox.
Olsen?
Yeah, Olsen's last game as #1 analyst was yesterday.
I thought he was doing a pretty good job, but I'm pretty sure somebody's going to pick him up.
I think he was doing. I think he's doing a great job. But
and Bory's going to be boring. I mean, it's a bad move because Olsen's great. Brady's going to be boring, but they won't put Brady in just because he's Tom Brady, which is unfortunate.
And that's $300 million that they spent.
I mean, save that money.
Yeah, they could have.
Nobody's tuning in because Tom Brady is doing the color. No one's doing that.
But you know what? I think Tom Brady will be good, actually. I don't think he'd be good as Greg Olsen, but I do think that he actually has some potential to be good.
I think he has the knowledge of the game, but I don't know if he's going to be articulated and be.
I think so.
I think he'll be better than Tony Romo.
I was just about to.
Well, not the current Tony Romo. When Romo first got in, he was good. Like his first couple of years when he was fresh.
He's goofy now.
Yeah.
Yeah, something happened there. I don't, maybe they're saying that maybe Romo could go over the golf or something like that, but I don't think that would work either. But that's if Greg Olsen becoming free agent, CBS may want to really think about that. Although they just paid Tony for $18 million a year for like 5 years, so that's a large check to write for him not to work.
Yeah, I think that's wasted money. I don't think anybody tunes in because of the broadcast. At least I don't.
No, it's because of the game, and that is violent and it's fun, and you see Tay every once in a while.
I'm over it. I'm over her trying to swag surf. I'm over it all.
Yeah, no.
All right.
You won't see her next season. They'll break up this.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much. He'll go to some big booty black woman again.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. But I will say when we talk again, it's gonna be fun. Super Bowl's gonna be great. Super Bowl's gonna be great. So we will be back for the Super Bowl after the Super Bowl. So with all our reactions, yeah, I'm excited. So